Hey guys, how the hell are ya? Welcome back to Arnold Drinks. My name is Arnold, and tonight I drink. Let's do something a little bit special. Let's do kind of a special beer video today. We are going to do a blind tasting on, honestly, probably one of my favorite styles of brews, and that being the Hell's Style Lager. So for those of you guys that don't know, a Hell's Lager is basically a pale lager. It originates from Germany. Pale in terms of color, in terms of the alcohol by volume, it's kind of in roughly the 4.5 to 5.5% range. But one of the things that's typical for this style, in addition to the slight bit of hops, this is a very refreshing brew that has a bit of maltiness to it. So as a result, it tends to have a little bit fuller body while still being rather crisp and refreshing. So what I thought would be cool is let's do a blind tasting. We've got two traditional German brewed Hell's Lagers here. We've got the Weihenstephaner Hell's, which up to this point has kind of been one of my favorites overall out of all of the different Hell's style lagers that I've ever had. Recently, I tried Tucher Hell's and was also impressed by that. We've also got a couple of more local versions of the Hell's Lager from down here in Texas. We've got from Freetail Brewing Company, we've got the Bat Out of Hell's, which is out of San Antonio, and probably my favorite local Hell's style, we've got the Alstadt Lager. Now, it's not one of those things that's actually referred to as a Hell's style lager, but every time I've had it, I've noticed right off the bat, oh my god, there's a lot of maltiness. So I treat it as a Hell's style lager, and I enjoy it as such. In terms of alcohol by volume, they're also all very similar in terms of that too. This is all within 0.5%. So 4.8% alcohol by volume, 5.2%, 4.7, and 4.8. So all within that sort of session beer area, all very, very crushable. Well, let's get to it. Let's see which ones of these I like the best and why. And to make this a total blind tasting, I've got a little note card here, and I'm gonna have the wife come up here and pour them and just mark which spot she's pouring them into, and I'm not going to see the results until at the end of the video when I flip the card over. So with that, let's get these drinks poured. Okay, so what stands before me? Honestly, 4 beers that all look remarkably similar, like in terms of color, very, very pale golden color. You can all tell that they all had rather white heads to them, although seeing the residual of the various heads, definitely differences in terms of carbonation, uniformity to the heads versus rockiness of the heads. See, this one has a lot of carbonation still on the bottom there. So what I'm gonna do is go from one side to the other, having a little bit of a cracker in between to sort of act as a palate cleanser. And then I'm gonna go back through the opposite way to see if my opinion has changed on which ones I like the best. All right, so starting with A, nose is somewhat lacking. Normally, from this style, you get a bit of that maltiness right away on the aroma, and this just kind of doesn't have a lot going on for it as far as the aroma goes. Smells very clean, very crisp. A little bit of lemon zest in the flavor, just a little bit though. A little bit of, dare I say it, like a little bit of ginger as far as like a flavor note that's in that. Just trying to jump out. Very, very dry finish. It's definitely got a little bit of a maltiness to it, but it's not as malt forward as this style tends to be, at least in my opinion. Moving on to B. Now see, this one, a lot more of that sort of corn, Marzen kind of note in the aroma. A little bit more of like a cream corn kind of thing coming through. That's the maltiness. That's something that just tends to happen with this style, is you get a little bit of maltiness that kind of comes through as like a corn note, as a cream corn note, sometimes like a buttered corn kind of note, and that's definitely present here. Oh my God, so much difference right away between A and B. A was just kind of boring and uneventful, to be honest with you. B has a lot more malt coming forward. You still get a little bit of that lemon zest. There's a little bit of orange zest that's in there now too. Teeny tiny bit of a grapefruit note that wants to come out and play as well. But the big thing that I'm getting out of that is there's still a lot of that sort of buttered corn kind of malt to it. A lot more fuller bodied. Definitely not as dry of a finish either. So it's not as clean. It's just something that lingers a little bit. Get a little bit of that maltiness on the back end too. Quite like that. Oh man, that one right away is exactly what I want from that style. Big full body, that huge kind of corn note that's coming out. That one's a front runner already. Moving on to C. This one has a slight bit of earthiness to it, like a dusty kind of note. And that's not coming from the glass either. These were all recently washed. That's interesting. Not as much lemon zest coming through, a little bit more of the orange zest, but not in kind of a sweet citrus kind of way, in kind of just maybe old orange, maybe orange rind. Let's go in for a sip. Let's see if anything's different on the palate. So that one's interesting in that it kind of fills the mouth rather quickly and then just kind of dissipates rather quickly. So it gives you this indication that, hey, I'm gonna be a little bit fuller bodied, just like how you want from this style. Gonna have a good mouthfeel, and then it just goes right away. The finish is not exactly dry, but it's just not lingering either. It just kind of comes and goes just like how the palate comes and goes. Let's go in for another sip. Now on the second sip, I'm not getting any indication of anything better either. It's just, there's a little bit of that corn note that's in there, but not near as much as B. It's definitely just not wanting to linger around and hang out either. Instantly, I'm already starting to see just how different these all can be. This is interesting. This is weird. This is cool. And by the way, I should mention, this is my first ever blind tasting I've ever done with anything. So this is kind of cool to see just how much of a difference already those first three have, because that one and that one are a little bit more similar. They just taste a little bit cheaper. This one is kind of kicking the other two's ass so far. So far B is still the front runner for me. Move on to D. Definitely a little cleaner than expected on the aroma for this one. It's very refreshing in terms of the aroma. It's very, very light, very airy. That lemon zest is coming back, but also there's something bigger and bolder underneath. So I think the malt is trying to come out and play on the aroma too. Getting a little bit of that sort of corn note coming in. Let's go in for a sip. And right from the word go, that sip, that corn note, that malt note is big and bold. It's really good mouthfeel, very mouth-filling. The finish is a little bit drier, but that can be forgiven for how commanding the palate is. The palate is extremely, extremely nice on that. You've got that buttery corn feel. It just kind of gives way to sort of like a dry champagne-like finish to it. Let's go in for a second sip. Yeah, if I had to make a guess, I would say that that finish is due to the carbonation of this one, because this one just had something interesting right from the moment that I came up and I saw these four glasses. I noticed this was the one that had the rockiest head, and when I swirled it around at the beginning, even now, even still after it's been sitting there, just so much lacing and legs is still hanging on the sides of the glass. So I feel like this one just has a little bit more carbonation going for it, and that's lending to that drier finish. But as far as the overall flavor profile, I like this one a lot. So let's take a moment and we're gonna go back through again. You know, I kind of feel like I have a clear 1, 2, 3, 4 already, but just for the sake of fairness and argument, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do this fair. We're gonna cleanse the palette, run it through the opposite direction. Alright, damn, I'm curious to see how much different, or if anything is different, going through this second time, the opposite direction. Let's just start right in with letter D. Crisp, definitely malty, as would be expected. See, this time around, I feel like the dryness came through a little bit earlier. Even before I started actually swallowing it, that dryness came in. There again, I think it's down to the carbonation. I kind of feel like there's a really strong kind of buttered corn, candy corn, cream corn kind of note here. So there's a little bit of sweetness involved, but it just kind of gets killed right away by the dryness of the finish. That being said, very refreshing. I do wish the finish wasn't as dry though. I feel like it would be more refreshing if it wasn't. Okay, now let's go back into C. See, even between D and C, there's such a dramatic difference on the aroma even. D had a little bit of that malty sort of Marzen note that was coming through on the aroma, and C now on this time through just doesn't really have any of that. It's just all citrus zest coming through. It's very interesting. This time through I feel like there was more of that sort of maltiness, that corn note coming through on the palate. And there again, I really like the fact that this one doesn't have as dry of a finish. So in my opinion, this one's a little bit more refreshing, which is kind of the whole point of a Helles Lagers. You want it to be something that's super refreshing, something that you can have on a hot summer day just to kind of cool you down a little bit. That's kind of doing the job right there. Is it as malty as D? No. But does it have as dry of a finish as D? Also no. So there's a little bit of give and take that's going on with C. Go back into B. I didn't even smell that one. I was just so eager to just jump right in and taste it. But oh man, that's kind of the best of everything. Lots of malt, lots of that buttered corn, that kind of corn on the cob note coming through. Still a little bit of a lemon and orange zest, but it's that big malt note that's kind of taking control of everything. In there on the aroma too. See, and this one, it's so clean and crisp on the aroma. There's no maltiness on the aroma whatsoever. It's just, boom, feels like a freshly cleaned glass, practically, but there's a bit of lemon zest that's coming out. Happy to report, I feel like there's a little bit more maltiness that's coming through this second time around, but ooh, that dry finish just comes in and kind of takes over, leaves you really wanting to take another sip, not necessarily because you're enjoying it, but because have another sip just so it feels like something is still moist in your mouth. Yeah, I think I have a clear ranking here as far as what my favorites are. Not even something I need to think about. I'm just gonna say right away, B is number 1. I'm going to say C is number 2 because even though it doesn't have as much maltiness as B, it shares a character that I really like, which is the fact that the finish is not dry on C. Yeah, could it stand to be maltier? Yes, but is it enjoyable? Is it drinkable? Is it crushable? Is it refreshing? It is, and in that regard, I think it holds a candle to B. As far as oh, you know what? Something I do need to think about. Let me try A and D again really quick because now I'm thinking about which ones I like enough to be third place. Alright, so D is going to be my third place. I feel like that one is maltier, still has the dry finish, but it's got the one thing that I feel like A is overall lacking. It's got the maltiness. That's one thing I love about Hell's Lagers. It's got to have that malt in the flavor profile. Is it unfortunate that it's got that dry finish? In this case, yes. I kind of feel like what A is doing is it's taking everything I love about Hell style lagers and diminishing them. It's first place, second place, third place, fourth place. Let's take a look at the results. I don't even want to try to take a guess as to what these are. I'm just going to look at the results. I'm going to see what my favorites are. Remember, it was A, B, C, D. My ranking, though, is first place, second place, third place, fourth. So let's see. Oh, yeah. That makes a little bit of sense. Huh. Okay, so that is really interesting. Oh, I should probably tell you what the results are because you guys are probably like, all right, what's so interesting about it, Arnold? All right, so first of all, I think what would probably be good is let's go from last to first. So oddly, last place, letter A, was one that I actually really like, and that was the Alstadt. That is really surprising because this kind of, since I've moved here, has been one of my favorites. It's been a go-to. If I'm going to a store and I just want something to drink, like, hey, there's a game on that I'm going to watch, or I've got people coming over, I'll get a 6-pack of this just to kind of call it so that we've got something refreshing. That's really surprising that that is my dead last place out of all of these. So my third place was D, and that is the Tucher. That is the Tucher Hells, which is an actual German brewed Hell style lager. Yeah, that one, it's just got a drier finish, but it still has the malt. It actually still has the malt that I want out of this damn beer. So that's my third place. My second place, a little surprising because I seem to recall having this and not being thrilled by it, but hey, the results don't lie. Freetail is my third place, so that one not quite as malty as I would like, but damn, is it a hell of a lot more refreshing. Doesn't have that dry finish, so I mean, this is something that I could see myself getting more sixers of in the future. Something that instead of the Alstadt, maybe I go with the Freetail, because that's kind of impressing me how that came out in second place. But that of course means my first place, this is not really shocking at all, because ever since I got my first 4-pack of this, I was extremely impressed. The Weihenstephaner Hells, that one is kind of everything I want in this style. It's malty, crisp, it's refreshing, crushable as all hell, and that finish is lingering, still malty in terms of the finish. It's just all around enjoyable. So there you go, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Hell's Lager Shootout. Let me know what you guys thought about this. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and as always, remember, take what you do seriously, do not take yourselves too seriously.